Snow fell cold on a bitter night. John was gone for the morning light. They blame Karen, but it don't sit right. Too many secrets hid from sight. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, what if any you might be. And welcome to this Nothing stream, because right now we're in a little bit of a limbo. Last night on Aiden's channel, he said that opening statements would be Wednesday. Everyone was kind of gearing up for it to be tomorrow. We know that they were trying to call the last jurors today to see if they could get a few more. They were ready to go with 16, but they would try and get to 18. But I was seeing that over on Smart TV, they were having Caffey Daffy on as an expert with Judy Grant. So I wanted to give you another place to hang out, because I know I'm low IQ, but... And jeg har det bedre. Det virker som om min forkølelse er på vej væk. But I thought we could just have a little chitty chat. Because when I was at the gym this morning, I was wondering, and we talked about this earlier. What are the things that didn't work for us in the first trial? For me personally, it was all the phone data, and with that, it kind of ruined the Hush Long to Die in the Cold for me, because I couldn't understand it. We had totally not a Russian bot who works with stuff like that, saying, well, the defense got it wrong. We had another person, I can't remember, sorry, saying, no, the state got it wrong. And if two people who works with it disagrees on what it actually shows, how are we as laymen to evaluate this? And I think the Hush Long to Die in the Cold is really good evidence, because it sets a totally different time frame. But why couldn't they use the camera on the car to kind of disprove it? Because she says she was in the car with Karen when she searched for it in the morning. But on the desk cam, around the time she claims she searched for it, she was outside of the car. That was just when she was sneaking up to the house. Remember that no one ever really noticed before trial that she snuck up to the house. And I believe it was around the same time frame. She claims she was sitting in the car. You remember the red roller coaster story. I think it would have been more efficient to just say, but you couldn't have searched it here because, look, you're standing outside the car. Are you, again, making statements that you misremember? It would have worked better on me because I took Jen as a very untrustworthy witness. But all of the technical stuff, I just didn't get it. I don't know if it's just me. Well, I know it's me that's stupid, but am I the only one who's too stupid to understand it? The defense points were great. The third party wasn't weak. It is Bev. Well, if it's not presented in court, it's not Bev, it's the defense. They need to shift away from it. If they can't get it in, they have to go on. We can't just sit and be home team favorites. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we know from the jury it didn't work. We thought so too, but apparently Aiden said yesterday it's Wednesday. Did you see the audit company made a statement about the other audit company? You have to go over that last page where they talk about Shaun of the Gulf. It's crazy. I've seen clips of it online. I haven't seen the report. But apparently, yes, Shaun of the Gulf is also connected to something with the audit. I saw the audit report was given the reason why they didn't want to do the audit because not enough money, too tight parameters, and they didn't believe that they wanted an audit. They wanted to have their hands washed clear of any guilt. But again, you have to listen to what I'm asking about. I'm not asking if it's good evidence. I'm asking if it is good evidence in front of a jury. If you understand it, perfectly fine. If the 12 people who sat in the jury box didn't understand one word of it, it's really bad evidence. It doesn't matter that I have sat here for 2 years, looked at every single hearing, read almost every filing, because John, who is the guy who's going to be juror number 4, didn't. And if you can't spoon feed it to him so he understands clearly what it is you're talking about, then it's just a BS and you can throw it out. There's jury selection today. It wasn't that they couldn't get it in. She would let Lally object when he was testifying. Then they couldn't get in. Again, everything that's presented in trial is presented in trial. If he objects and they know this is the second go around. They know they have to fight Bev, and Bev will be worse this time. That's why I think they should shift their strategy and not talk so much about the third-party culprit defense, because all of us really like that whole who could have done it, but it's not important. What is important is Karen didn't do it. That's what they have to convince the jury of. It doesn't mean they have to point at Colin, Chloe, the weatherman. All of this is, did Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe? Because on the face of it, this is a pure and simple hit and run case. The only special thing about this hit and run case is, had they had an argument and she got mad and that's why she hit him. This has nothing to do with what went on inside the house. This has nothing to do with what went on at Aruba. This has, funny enough, nothing to do with what, if any, snow there was that night. This case, in any other circumstances, would just be, did she take her car, chuck it in reverse, hit him, and drive off? But because we have spent so much time looking on all the things going on around the case. We know, well, there's this connection to the house. There's this story from the Nebuchadnezzar story. We know all of this stuff. But can you present it to a jury? That's my only question, because a lot of people think, well, they should just say this, this, and this. I saw someone on Twitter say, what was it? Oh, they should just do the opening statement, start with, ladies and gentlemen, Colin Albert, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins did this. That shows me they don't know anything about how a court runs, because if they did that, the case would instantly be kicked out, and they wouldn't be back for the next one, because they would be disciplined in front of the bar. And it's those things that I just wanted to say. We need to also not be home team fans all the time and just say, well, they did amazingly, because we know from the jury they didn't do amazingly. The jurists absolutely didn't buy the third-party culprit defense. And I don't believe that was just because Bev was allowing objection from the state, I believe like 8-2. I don't think that's the reason why it didn't land. I think it's too convoluted. There's too many people, there's too many side stories you have to keep track on. And I think it's way easier to understand science. Just say the science proved she didn't do it. Great question, Baker. Defense presentations, unfortunately, was not effective with jury. Jury is all that matters. Yeah, it's not about the law. It's not about the facts. It's what can you tell the jury they will believe. I've said it 1,000 times. With all the Commonwealth witnesses on the list, defense needs to focus reasonable doubt at each cross and really bring it home with their witnesses when it's their turn. Yeah, I think they have to tighten up. I was trying to go and do some clips for a new outro. And it works really well on camera. And I think it works really well if you had less than 6 weeks of what if any snow, because I'm going to say something that probably never been said before. Watching all of that stuff and trying to go back and rewatch part of it yesterday to try and get me in the mood for the next one. Lally, I actually did something good. Not by my standards, but Lally wasn't as big as an idiot as I first thought, because what he did, he threw so much confusion into this case. And I think that's why he just kept asking questions. And this third time he was asking a witness something they already answered. I was about to lose my mind. But I think it was a strategy he had chosen to confuse the jury. And then you have to say he did well, because the jury was confused. He couldn't prove Karen Read did it, but he confused them enough that they thought, well, they are claiming something, but we don't see it. And I think actually that was the strategy. And he knew he couldn't do it again. And that's why they have a special protector Brennan there. One thing that really bothered me about Jackson was that he kept going in on the same question over and over. It's like, just make your point, let them deny it, make it one more time, and let it go. Unless it's really important, yeah. Better to show them as dishonest than because you have that tipping point where you're afraid, oh, are they going to feel sympathy for the witnesses? That's another problem you have to look out for. Can't believe these people are getting away with murder. They are. John O'Keefe will never have justice. Even if Karen Read is found innocent, there will never be justice for John O'Keefe, because the way they investigated his murder, they will never, ever be able to find who did it. It would behoove them to get Anthony Fauci on the stand and exclaim, he is the science. Don't do political. Yes, his strategy was overwhelmed and it worked. It was horrible, though, and unethical, in my opinion. No, because one thing I also noticed, the defense never really objected to asked and answered. So the defense also have to, I think, and I know, well, we don't want to go to the sidebar all the time, and that's what Beb wants them to. They need to object more. That's the thing I saw especially because I expect Brennan to be way worse than Lally. Jackson had his way of sneaking stories in without, Beb would say, enough of that, move on. But I think Brennan will do the same. He will put words in the mouth of everyone, and they really have to object this time. I think the third-party culprit was too much. They should have hammered reasonable doubt. In my opinion, it was done because they knew the jury would play investigation and would want to know if not Karen Reed, then who. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem that they get into that all these people were at the house. There was a lot of telephone activities in the middle of the night. But I think we have to say that the defense part of the case wasn't, they should have spent more time on the science, I think. And it doesn't look like they have a ton more witnesses to do it this time, but maybe go deeper into it. Oh, it's because I didn't do anything to it after I got out of the shower. In 5 minutes, just be down flat. I think the jurors couldn't keep track of it all. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, because I was just skipping around and listening to parts of the testimony, and you had so many people, and everyone was talking about C.J. McCarthy's. Everyone was talking about this person and that person, and you're sitting. I still don't know who Carrie Roberts is related to everyone else, because some people, oh, she was a good friend. Some people, we don't really know her. She was just there. She's the main person. There's so many stories, and I'll have to sit there with my Venn diagram and put in, this person is related to that person, is related to this person. I think they should cut down. I know the Commonwealth won't do it, but defense shouldn't entertain. Chris Albert, you were at the waterfowl that night. Yes. You met John earlier that day. Yeah. That's the first time you ever asked for his phone number. Correct. What time did you leave? At 12:10. Well, at the previous hearing, you stated 12:15. Was that correct? Yeah. And you claimed Colin came home at what time? Well, it must have been after 12:20. At the last trial, we figured out that couldn't be possible. Is that correct? Yes. Then you don't have to go on and on and on about more. Then you have everything you need. And I think that could actually be a good thing if they didn't spend an hour cross-examination on every witness. Coco, her crazy story about cleaning the house and it's raining men. You were at the waterfowl that night? Yes. You were there when Karen Reed and John O'Keefe came in? Yes. Did you see any signs of aggression between them? No. You claim John never entered your house? Yes. Did you have eyes on your husband and Brian Higgins the entire time? No. There was a time they looked at photos. How long were they looking at photos, as you claim? 15 minutes. Thank you. You don't need all of this. Who was in a group text? Who was? It works with some of them. Get to it with. Is it Matt McCabe who was the guy? Don't tell them he entered the house. Recovery addict is saying Karen Reed is seduced for half their hearing today to go over all the motions they need to before trial. We'll see if it happens. I don't see anything lined up. And I don't know why she's seduced, but it sounds kinky. Let's see if anyone has anything coming up later. No. Nope. I can't see that anyone has streams prepared for it from the big. Nope. Laurie Daybell. Everything's Laurie Daybell on every channel. Hey, Andrea. It was a magic show by the prosecution. They tried to distract and dazzle the jury so the jury wouldn't notice the real thing, namely John O'Keefe wasn't hit by a car. Exactly, and that's why if you play along on the magic show, you don't have to disprove all the sleight of hand. You just have to put focus back that when that scantily clad lady comes out of the cabinet, there's actually a mirror behind, and that's how she's hiding inside of it. It's not magic. It's pure science. Said that from the beginning, Lally kept on showing Snow and unimportant witnesses in random times. It worked because he knew that the jurors couldn't get the script from the trial. Yeah, and they can't do notes where you're sitting there thinking, okay, so the timeline, oh, no, the timeline is wrong because we know the timeline is wrong because we're looking through, okay, the phone call is here, the this and that was at that and this time. And we know that because Sludy, Olivier, all of these people have made, Brandy, have made great spreadsheets. So we know when everything happened. But as a jury, they will have a pen and paper and they will sit. I think Jen McCabe was 2.5 hours. You can't keep track of it, and you won't go back and cross out, oh, no, this was a lie. So it's hard to think it's overload. Ted Daniels doesn't have anything about. He still says jury selection. So I don't know where recovery has it from. My snoops haven't figured out where to find it yet. Stop squinting and just wear your glasses. Problem is I can read in the middle distance. I'm also live. Microdot's video, Occam's razor, clearly shows Karen put it back of the car shortly after Lank arrives at 6:24. Hoslong was 6:23. Jen got a few minutes later. It all happens after 6:24. Yeah, but that's the problem. And you can show that. You can show on the video with the timeline running in the bottom and said, but you weren't in the car at that time where you claimed you did the searches. So when did Karen tell you that story about her period? You know, she told you that while Carrie was also in the car. Where's that? So again, why are all your statements inconsistent with the truth and the facts? Yes, I heard that as well. I don't know either, but his stream today is called Karen Reed Final Retrial Motions. You are all messing with my Monday morning brain. Well, if he is, then he probably, and I know he has a bigger reach than I have. I only have this much reach. The rest is Marissa and Jemima, who is scrolling through all the court feeds. We were talking about scheduling yesterday when we were talking about, is it going to start Tuesday? And because, as I said, I want something official so we can start planning, because right now we're just doing this. We're just sitting here chit-chatting and, oh, there's one more juror today. Hey. So I just want an official release start date. But I don't think there's any motion hearing on the record for today. Maybe there's. Maybe he got hold of court or something, and Bev said we're going to go to 12, and then we're going to have motion hearing the afternoon. I don't know. She should get to ruling on all her motions instead. Maybe a lot of rhythm poetry will help with the juror's memory. Could be that could work. I believe this has always been the reason the prosecution's case was so long. No way for jurors to remember facts. Yeah, bore the heck out of them, make them forget all of the important details. But the defense have the closing, and that's why they need to really hammer home the reasonable doubt in that. It could be that she announced it in court. We all know Bev likes to constantly change things up. Could be, but I don't see anything on Twitter either. Nope. I don't see, again, all the normal talking heads doesn't say anything. So hopefully, because they have quite some outstanding motion to rule on. In my opinion, it's unbelievable that there's 12 people in Massachusetts who haven't heard of the case. This will come down to how many of them are honest in their wadaya. Most of them will have heard about it, but they will, it'll be, yes, I can be unbiased. That's what it's all about. But I think if they have heard about it, it will actually be good for Karen Read. Because the general sense I get whenever I go anywhere is, I know Krusty and Plevin has more live viewers than I have, but I also no, that wasn't them. Who was that weirdo? The other one. What's her name? The one who has her camera facing up, which is a really bad angle when you're streaming, because all your chickadee chin goes away when you're streaming down. And she was, and she can't pronounce anything, and she gets everything wrong and doesn't understand what the legal terms are. But those people have somewhere between 300 and 700 people watching them. But if you go around right now and look who's live just in our circle, it's in the thousands. So I would guess out of 100, maybe 5 people believe Karen Read is guilty. So if they've heard about it, I would say it's a bonus for Karen Read. Yes, my Legos I started is there. I always finish. All the normal talking heads aren't allowed in because of the lottery system for the media. No, but my good friend Doink the Clown got in. Hey, Lefty, talk about being a nerd. It mostly anti-Karen Read in courtroom from media, apparently. It's magic of the secret drawer. But I just hope Jess Machado gets in, because then Doink will get kicked out. And I know she was on the alternate list. I have 2 streams talking at once. I thought YouTube didn't allow that. Shouldn't be possible. I can't do it. So maybe they changed stuff up again. I watched Plevin last night for a bit. I asked why the Sallyport video was backwards. It said it's just recorded like that. No big deal. Yeah, was it him? I stopped by someone when I had my night pee last night, and they just blocked some people because they really couldn't understand that people would go into someone else's YouTube chat and just sit there and be negative. Because why should they be negative? It was such a cool thing, and they can just do their own channel. Funny. Did you see my chat when Plevin was on? But again, they have numbers. I don't know if it's Indian people who really likes Plevin. I know sometimes when certain people come around my channel, my recommendation all of a sudden gets a lot of Indian channels or Chinese channels recommended. I don't say it's a proof of anything. I'm just saying I wonder why. Because I know India and China are the 2 big bot farms that certain YouTubers have used to boost their members and viewer numbers on. But that shouldn't influence a live view. So I don't know. I don't know what... but what I could tell was with so many people, their chats are moving slow. Poll won't let me answer. It was perfect. Well, I don't know why Poll won't let you answer. Doink is streaming from Mommy's basement. Guess he didn't have money for an Uber. And he's on the list. Oh, by the way, Doink is having a family emergency. So if you can send him some money, please do that. What's the family emergency? I don't know. He doesn't tell you, but he really wants some money. So family emergency is probably that he needs some weed or his pretend girlfriend got in trouble with the law again. I always miss Doink. Doink is my favorite. You didn't even get blocked? Oh. You can get blocked on everyone else's channel but the anti-Karen readers. Wonder why. No, B-O-T. Danny, grow up. The guy with the tiny desk, Craig, is in court today. Oh, the IT guy. He hasn't been there for any of the previous hearings. Yeah, he has a family emergency. What it is, who knows? Who cares? Just send Doink some money. I'm thinking his normal weed dealer is raising prices, which will be a family emergency because then he will go yell at Wendy and she will then call her ex-husband and get him to pay more money to them or something like that. And his cracker brother is going to release another rap album. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Oh no, Caffey Daffy has blocked me on Twitter. Oh no, please let me have your thoughts on prayer. Anton Ivanov, you'll have all of them because you are now so lucky that you don't get to see her ramblings. When this lady, who is the greatest FBI agent since Herbert Hoover ever made the FBI, doesn't understand the English language written. Because as everyone else on that side, she believed that Karen Reed said her and OJ was the same. No, she said the police investigation in her and OJ's case were kind of the same. It was botched and they were set up. But of course, she didn't understand any of that, or she didn't want to understand any of that. So this is the best law enforcement we have. And this is the lady who the other day said, I'm paid to have opinions based on my work experience. Funny how that came first. I'm paid to have opinions. Because that just makes me think, kind of like Plevin claimed with the defense witnesses, she will have the opinion that pays the most. Hey, Farley. Hey, Troy. Well, you're not a failed law student, failed everything, failed now journalist. Herbert Hoover was the greatest FBI lady agent ever. He was just cross-dressing. He didn't go full ball. The police investigation in OJ was a mess. I believe even the ME messed up the autopsies. Yeah. And again, heavily biased, kind of like Proctor with what's his name, the guy who was fond of the N-word. There's a lot of similarities. And as someone wrote me today, if Chloe's teeth don't, I can't remember what it was. It was a good one. I watched the Netflix series A Body in the Snow. It's on HBO, right? How in the Hölle did the fake girlfriend Coffin Chaser and Plevin make it on that show? Let me tell you something about media, because I actually own a media company because of the tax code. That is how my YouTube channel is registered. They don't give 2 cents about anything. They went into Canton and they said, hey, we're going to make a documentary. And everyone almost who was pro-Can Reed said, yep, it's going to be biased. It's going to be one-sided. Nope, we're not going to be there because they're going to clip the heck out of us and make it look like we actually are just grifters doing it for money and we don't believe anything we're saying or something like that. I'm doing a Plevin thought monologue. It's totally real because I never talked to a witness. On the other side, they talked to Plevin and he said, oh, sorry, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. What's my new attempt on an outro? Don't go just because it's an outro.
Missing. In a state of shock, that was my description.
Got it. So in a state of shock, you said there was a crack in it.
No,
Hours after.
I said it was cracked. I never said there was a crack in it.
So if Trooper Proctor wrote that down, that would be an example of him getting your words wrong yet again.
Objection.
Correct?
That's been. I'll allow it.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that at her
Do you remember it or do you not, Ms. McCabe? That's a simple question.
that morning, I don't remember specifically what I Googled, but I do know what you've put out to the social media.
How about this? And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but 2 phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning at a time.
You're saying you're from Netflix? Can you mention I have a YouTube channel. Is Aiden Carney gonna be on it? He's not. Are you gonna pay anything for it? Gonna pay an exposure? Well, I tried to do that once, but sadly it was within 200 feet of a school. You shouldn't pay an exposure that close to a school. But yeah. Can I be on? What do you want me to say? My opinion. Turtle Boy's bad. That's my opinion about the Can Who case. Turtle Boy's bad. That's my opinion. But can I just get on? I'll do whatever I can. You're gonna mention my channel. I have a YouTube channel. My mom likes it a lot. She watches it every time. Every time I'm live, she says, "Thank God, Kevin is in his room again, and he's live, so she's not on those sites." She walked in on it once, and she got a little bit surprised about the midget and that gag ball. So it was bad.
Oh my gosh, you guys! There's a class called Basic Grifting. Should we all learn how to be grifters together?
That's the wrong one. Ba-ba-dum-bum-bum. If Tom Cruise and Heidi from the movie had a kid, Heidi who? Well, I'm trying to sound like him. It's an impression. I am very professional. His mom was really surprised that that's what she did. Yeah, I need to get in touch with Mo and figure out how to make a bald cap. It'll land it 100%. In mind, Plevin and Caffey Daffy is engaged in a mad, torrid love affair, and Kate Peters is stalking. I can't remember who posted it, but someone on X pulled a Fed court case that involved Caffey Daffy and pining for the complainant, and the court didn't just deny him, but proceeded to pimp slap her. Yeah, I was. It isn't that easy to read. I was actually planning on reading it at some point. She was opining on FOIA requests. No. Someone had complained that they didn't look enough into the system the police have, and it's a little while back it came out, so I'm not sure. There's some system the police have that she claimed that they didn't do enough background checks in, and this is why this guy got picked up or something like that. And with her multiple years of fame as the greatest FBI agent in history, maybe ever, she believed that they were doing it wrong. Funny how she, in that case, thought that it was a botched operation. I'm not saying you can buy her opinions, but she is getting paid to have opinions based on her experience. Funny that she's also in the Birdsmore trial, claims that the police was fiddling around with the investigation. But in Karen Reed, everything was great. Remember, she was even defending Proctor until he got fired. Well, that language happens everywhere. Does it? Well, a lot of more cops should be fired then. Court is live for Karen Reed. But isn't it just the normal where we're going to say the same thing we say every day and then we're going to go, "Wah dear," a lot of people? Lawn and Crim doesn't have it. Let me see if I can find something. I know Recovery has it as the final pretrial hearing, but Boston 25 has it as jury selection, and Karen Reed retrial continues as 2 more jurors are wanted. Oh, I should put it on screen when I'm talking about it. What the hell? There it is. So I don't know if Recovery knows something no one else knows. There should be a final motion hearing. No, they need like 5 motions But this is what Boston 25 has. Yeah, I can see that as well, but no one else have heard that there should be a pretrial hearing today. So I don't know where he has his information from. Marissa, I think, has been digging around and to see if it's on the books. We were told Friday that they would come back today, do the last batch of jurors to try and find 2 more. And that's what Boston 25 has up as well. It can't be OnlyFans because that's not the same courtroom.
Here we go. Now
It's the same courtroom I was in. But let's go and see if... I'll do some more digging behind it. Oh, maybe if I am live. Just gonna do some more. Yeah. Let's see if it's a hearing or what it is. I hate this setup. Find me another one.
Jimmy, do you have those numbers for me?
You are unmuted.
Jimmy.
Could have been he's out with his metal detector. Why did the dinosaurs go extinct? Because of change in their habitats, Ken Counseling Couch. You know this. Because the rock came from outer space. That's what he based his character on in Moana. Who is these people? Do we know them? Is this the Harvard clerks? I haven't been watching the jury selection stuff. My questions exactly. It must be some of those Harvard. Remember, they had the volunteers from Harvard, so it must be them who might do the digging in the jurors. How does he eat with that thing? Oh yeah, he has a little bit of an underbite. That was the former juror. Oh, interesting. Oh, the lady in the blue suit. And now Twisted Tragedies was the person I was talking about. I saw. She has 100 people watching right now.
All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Kenobi, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, in for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. Jurors remain standing.
Jurors, can I have each of you raise your right hands, please? You solemnly swear to make true answers to such questions as should be put forth to you by the court, so help you God. Thank you. You can have a seat. May I call the case, Your Honor?
Please.
Your Honor, this is 2282CR117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record, starting with the Commonwealth?
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
And Lyle for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Hank Brennan for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Mr. Brennan.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also on behalf of Mr.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Morning, Your Honor. Robert Alessi on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Alessi.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Yannetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Yannetti.
Good morning, Your Honor. Victoria George for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Ms. George. Good morning, Ms. Reed. All right, Jim. Jim, we all set? You just. Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, good morning, jurors. My name's Beverly Canoni. I'm a judge of this court, and I want to welcome you here today and give you some idea on how we think your day looks. As you've heard, this is the matter of Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
I think I put it up, boosted it till +5, so it should be okay. I can hear it.
It's a criminal case. First, I want to thank you for your patience here with us today, and thank you for our service. One of the most important duties we have as citizens of this country is jury duty, and we simply would.
Aiden said yesterday they were set to start Wednesday anyway. So right now, I just want something from court that says day X is when we start, because it'll be a lot of rumors until then.
Wouldn't be able to do this without you, so we do appreciate your patience here today. The Commonwealth alleges that at approximately 6 o'clock in the morning of January 29, 2022, the Canton Police Department received a 911 call reporting an unresponsive male party in the snow outside a residence at 34 Fairview Road in that town. Officers responded and discovered the man, later identified as John O'Keefe, off the roadway in the front lawn area. Officers identified 3 women with Mr. O'Keefe, one of whom was the defendant, Karen Reed, the girlfriend of Mr. O'Keefe. The defendant had been with Mr. O'Keefe the previous evening at 2 different bars in Canton and had driven with him to this residence in the early morning hours of this date. Mr. O'Keefe was treated by paramedics from the Canton Fire Department and transported to the Good Samaritan Medical Center, where he was later pronounced deceased. The Commonwealth alleges that the defendant struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle earlier that morning and then left the scene while Mr. O'Keefe lay injured in the snow during a blizzard. The defendant denies these allegations. She is presumed to be innocent and has pled not guilty. Ms. Reed is charged with second-degree murder. She is also charged with manslaughter while operating under the influence and with leaving the scene after causing personal injury or death. I will describe these crimes in greater detail at the end of the case when I teach you the law, but briefly, murder is the unlawful killing of a human being. There are various ways in which the Commonwealth can prove a murder case, and the Commonwealth is permitted to proceed under all theories
She's not allowed to say, officer, it could prejudice the jury against the defendant.
that it believes it can prove. Here, the Commonwealth alleges that the defendant committed murder and that that murder was murder in the second degree. In order to prove the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree, the Commonwealth must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the
Yes, this is jury selection. If you haven't watched that before, these are the charges, because they will get some questions. Have you ever known anyone who has been in a hit and run? Have you ever drunk a beer with Brian Albert? Do you know Karen Reed? All of these questions will be asked. That's why they will get it up front, so they can say, especially in DV cases and stuff like that, they will be very interested in people have experienced DV. So it's totally normal what she does now. It will be read to them again at the beginning of trial when the charging document is read.
defendant committed an unlawful killing and that it was done with malice. In comparison,
It's a better camera.
involuntary manslaughter is an unintentional, unlawful killing caused by wanton or reckless conduct. These terms and the elements of the crimes will be explained to you in detail at the end of the case before you begin your deliberations. Now, at the outset, I would like to address the issue of public opinion and interest in this case and the duty of this court to adhere to the rule of law.
No trial
John
will,
Adams.
no trial will start today. That's the only thing we know for sure. Recovery Addict believes there will be a motion hearing today. No one else have heard about it. maybe he has the insight, maybe he has misunderstood something. Everyone thought that it'll start tomorrow, but yesterday Aiden said it'll start Wednesday. So right now everything's up in the air. They are trying to fill more jury seats today. They will hope to get 18, but 19, but will go with 18. That's what they had the last time. The last time they lost 5 members. 5 members doing the case. So just to make sure that they have enough to lose, they will try and get 19, I think is the number that's been said. And so far, 2 have already, I believe it's 2 have already been put on the jury and then taken off the jury again. Apparently 1 because of some social media. We don't know why, but it happened right after Miss Little showed Bev a phone which someone said might have had something to do with social media things. So could sound like it's been a free strike for the defense. And the other one, I believe, was because of personal hardship, as they call it. Maybe they couldn't have their kids taken care of. Maybe they have a sick parent, stuff like that. So already we actually have had 18 jurors seated, but 2 of them have been kicked off again. Just have a feeling Hank is going to say Karen hit him in the morning when she went to pick him up or something. Otherwise, the Commonwealth's own witness say they saw Karen pull away and no John. Brennan will go to the end of the earth. Lying in this case is my sad prediction. High definition is not Bev's friend Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof. Thank you, Lefty. I agree. Bev, I know she's had her bangs made up and her eyes are not that red today, but especially with this pause cam, when we're thinking about it, that Alessi is, 5-10 years older than her, someone shouldn't be marinating in White Claw. That's all what I have to say.
Said that we are a government of laws, not of men, and that the law must be deaf to the clamoring of the public. He meant that while public opinion about a given subject may ebb and flow, the law must be steady, reliable, and even-handed. We know that on the subject of this case, there are people advocating for one outcome or another with intensity, but without the benefit of having heard or seen any evidence at all in this trial. The law works in a different way, and the difference is crucial to our system of justice. The jurors selected for this trial will hear and judge the evidence. They will decide what the facts are, and where the evidence is contested, they will determine where the truth lies. Ultimately, the jury will decide whether the Commonwealth has carried its burden of proving that the defendant is guilty of any crime beyond a reasonable doubt. People outside of this building have rights, and we know that they have voices, but this criminal trial will be decided by an independent jury, free from outside interference, based only upon the evidence presented in this courtroom and the law.
Yeah, she got her roots fixed, right? They were really dark last week.
This is the only way to ensure that every person who comes before the court receives a fair trial. It is just that simple and that important. So, while public comment will likely continue, the rule of law will be upheld. In order to determine your eligibility to serve on this case, I'm going to ask you questions all as a group, and then I'm going to ask you to fill out a supplementary questionnaire. We have found that the use of this questionnaire is helpful for several reasons. First, there are some personal questions on it, and we ask that you be candid. In addition, the process of filling out the questionnaire provides the opportunity to be more reflective as you answer the questions, rather than being put on the spot and asked to give an immediate answer. After you fill out the questionnaires, we will have you come up to the sidebar one at a time so that we can follow up with you on your answers to the questionnaire and your answers to my questions. I want to thank you in advance for your patience as we go through this process. As you may know, the lawyers for the parties participate in the selection of the jury. Under our law, each of the parties has the right to exercise what we call juror challenges. This means that each party has the right to challenge a certain number of prospective jurors for any reason or for no reason at all. Therefore, some of you will be excused during the impanelment procedure. Please do not take it personally. Don't think that somehow you're not a fair person. It's not a reflection on you at all. You will be directed back to the jury room and may be picked for another case. In a little while, I'll pose a number of questions to you as a group. You've taken an oath that requires you to truthfully answer these questions and all questions posed to you. I'm not asking you to take out your juror cards now. I'll ask you to do that at a later time. But if your answer to any question is yes, I will ask that you raise your hand and hold up your juror card in the air with the numbers facing out so that the court officers can read out your number. The fact that you answer yes to any of my questions does not mean that you're automatically disqualified from juror service. It simply means that there are matters that the lawyers and I need to discuss with you. If you find a question posed to the group to be overly intrusive, you may elect to
No, I stop and talk sometimes.
answer that question at sidebar as well. I will have additional questions for you which relate to issues that may be raised in the trial and are designed to give us information regarding whether or not you're able to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case. The lawyers are allowed to ask you questions for the same reason. There is no right or wrong answer. This is not a test. We are simply looking for your best and honest answer to our questions. I'm now going to have the lawyers introduce themselves, please. And when defense counsel introduce yourself, please introduce your client. So let's start with the Commonwealth, please.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hank Brennan. I represent the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'd like you to meet my two colleagues.
Good morning. My name is Laura McLaughlin. I'm Assistant District Attorney in Norfolk County, representing the communities of Norfolk County. Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Good morning. My name is Adam Lally, Assistant District Attorney with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. I just want to thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Jackson.
Thank you, Jar, for being a member for 10 months on Sons. No, I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. I don't know.
I have the honor and privilege of representing Ms. Karen Reed, who's standing to my right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elizabeth Little, and I also have the honor of representing Ms. Reed.
Good morning. My name is Robert Alessi. Thank you for being here and taking the time. I have the pleasure of representing Ms. Reed as well.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Yannetti. I'm an attorney. I have an office in Boston and right here in Dedham. It's truly my privilege to represent Canada.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Victoria George, and I also have the privilege of representing Ms. Reed.
Good morning. I'm Karen Reed. Thank you.
Oh, she did present herself.
Thank you. Jurors, I'm going to read you a witness list. It's very long.
No, they won't be prevented from that. But in most cases, they will be told that if you go to a bar to get lunch or something like that, because we have actually seen it in the Ashley Benefield trial, where a juror went into a bar to get their lunch. They had a takeaway order, and the news was playing on the TV, and she came back, and someone else ratted her out and said she watched it in the bar, and she said, no, I went in, took my lunch, saw it was on, walked out, because that's what they're going to be instructed. If you go anywhere where they are talking about the trial or they have the news on, you should leave the room to make sure that you can be impartial. So they won't be told not to be able to go there, but if they meet anyone, see anyone, they are supposed to leave.
It does not mean that all of these people whose names I read to you will be called as witnesses, but you may hear their names throughout the trial. So,
bit longer, but a year is pretty good. Thank you, Puddle Master. Thank you. And Kelly with 5 months. Thank you so much.
please listen carefully because In a few minutes, I'm going to ask you whether you know any of these folks. So it is alphabetical, but it's alphabetical by first name.
I never ever heard any list made alphabetical by first name, but we'll figure out why.
Aiden Kearney from Jefferson, Mass.
That's exactly why they put it alphabetical by first name. Aiden Kearney.
Dr. Isaac Wolf from South Miami,
And he's a doctor as well, so why didn't she say that?
Florida. Alfredo Lopalato from Canton. Allison McCabe, Canton. Andre Porto, Massachusetts State Police.
They will be sequestered in that way that they're not allowed to look at stuff and that. But it's such a attack on their personal liberty that if you're going to sequester them, this will be, in my opinion, if we do it like the last time, this case will end somewhere in July. If we do it by normal standards with the time limits they themselves have given, we'll probably end the state's case right around the first week of June when I'm in Knoxville. And then the defense will go for a week or two. So you would have these people sequestered at some stupid motel for 3-4 months. That's too much. That's why they are just giving the instructions. Don't look at anything.
Crime Lab. Andrew Klain, Bridgewater. Andrew Rentschler, PhD from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah,
that's not important. I've talked nonsense here for more than 6 months. Julie, and we have liked every nonsense you've talked. And Sue have also talked nonsense for 17 months. Thank you. Here we go again on my own, going down the only road I know. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. Because they won't be listening anymore by the time she gets to K. Yeah, this was 6 minutes ago. Are she still going? No.
We'll finish that. We're toward the Wilson from the Norfolk DA, Canton Police Department.
Maybe she's saying
Sergeant
something.
Yuri Buchanan from the Mass State Police. Shannon Burgess from South Lake Police. Stephen Surratt, California. Nuttall. The fall DeChico, Trooper Evan Prince. Wendell Rober. Obviously, this trial is going to take a long time to try. The lawyers tell me that their best estimate, once we start with the evidence, is 6 to 8 weeks. We are in the process of impaneling a jury. We don't know when we'll finish that. We're toward the tail end of finishing that. But once we start, it will be a 6 to 8 week trial. That's our best estimate. Sometimes trials go longer, sometimes they go shorter. I can tell you that every day before we leave for the day, I tell jurors where we are, if we're on schedule, behind schedule, or ahead of schedule. And I've not had to tell a jury that we were behind schedule, and that's why we have that 6 to 8 week estimate. The schedule that we will have is we will start in the mornings at 9. We'll go until about 11 or so and have a break for about 15 or 20 minutes. We'll break for lunch, and you will have lunch delivered to you so that we don't have you walking into town center and coming back, because we want to make the most efficient use of your time. So we'll do that, and our lunch breaks will be shorter because of that. And we'll go until about 4 o'clock every day. So that's the schedule. There are some days off and some half days in that 6 or 8 week period. And if you're selected for a jury, you'll get those dates before we start. So that's our schedule and the best estimate of where we'll be. Now, it might help if I give you a preview about some of the basic law that applies to criminal cases like this.
Why don't they have somebody overlooking the judges who aren't fairly judging? Well, that's called the appeals court, and then they'll just lose an appeal. She's there for life. You'll have to impeach her to remove her from the bench. I'm pretty sure you can't do that in Massachusetts. So I said the same thing to Jemima. I said, why do you have such a stupid system where someone who is clearly using double standards you can't complain to someone that can go and say, "Hey, lady, this is wrong." You know that because she ruled exactly the opposite on two experts, one from the state she allowed, one from the defense she denied, on the exact same basis. But she's there for life. So unless she does something illegal, her being biased isn't illegal. It's just being a really bad judge. That's what you have appeals for. But that's also another $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 that the defendant must use. But hey, it works because then they won't take it to appeal. I find it very, very annoying that no one, because you could say just as a courtesy to a colleague, you would go in and say, "Hey, Bev, I know it was a Tuesday. Tuesdays can be a little rough. We all been there, and you actually wrote exactly the opposite on the same motion. Maybe you should clean that up." Why doesn't any of her colleagues go in and do that? Why isn't there anyone who is a presiding judge who can say, "You have to clean up your act"? But there isn't. That's the beauty of the American court system. Sometimes you'll have someone voted in who are very, very, very biased. Sometimes you have some people with a lifetime appointment who is very, very biased. And the funny thing is, you can try and impeach them. That's the only way you can do it. She ain't breaking no laws. She's just biased. Biased isn't illegal. It should be in the eyes of the law, but it's not like she's doing anything no one else is doing. And that's the bad part about this case, and it's the bad part about the system. She can do this. Everyone who says, "Well, she's too biased, she should be removed," guess who you're going to ask to remove her? Herself. She's not going to do that because she will say, "No, I'm not biased." That's the stupid system. Real sequestration is also really expensive because the party that asks for it has to pay. Yeah, that's a lot of monetos if they have to stay somewhere for 8 to 10 weeks. Yes, lunch will be brought in. I think they were at the last time. I'm just hoping that they are not only getting the mediocre chicken and parm from D&E Pizzas. I had a baby breaky. Yay. I do make pretty babies. I have to say that. So if you were so lucky, it's a beautiful baby. Oh, and Vilu has been here for 17 months, since the beginning of my monetization. Thank you so much, Vilu. I'm so far behind. At least Bev isn't using that fake sweet voice that she did with jurors in trial 1. I can't stand her demeaning way of talking to people. She's like that reserved grandma who never had kids. Oh, and then she's just a biatch. In mass, you cannot use the judicial bias as a basis for a motion to recuse. They have to show personal bias, and she snuck around that. Yeah, and again, who has to determine if she has bias? Herself. It's so stupid. Yeah, I make beautiful babies. I have the two cutest little girls. Well, they're not that little anymore. And when the grandbaby was new, he looked kind of like my daughter. He was beautiful. Now he looks like his dad. So it's hard time loving him.
As I said, it's my job to teach the jury the law, but I don't do that completely to the end of the case. But for now, I'll give you a brief summary of some of the very legal, constitutional principles that will govern this trial. First, and most basically, the defendant starts this trial presumed to be innocent. The fact that she was arrested or that she was indicted is not proof of any.
Well, you can be sexually active. Well, I started when I was 25.
Anything. An indictment is simply a piece of paper. It just makes an accusation. An indictment is a formal manner of accusing a person of a crime and bringing that person to court to stand trial in the superior court. But it is only the jury, in other words, you folks, who can decide whether the prosecution has proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. If the Commonwealth fails to do that,
Yes, I have a 5.5-month-old grandson, baby Baker.
then the presumption of innocence requires you to find the defendant not guilty. The law does not require
Probably, again, some technicality that they found out somewhere in some trial because lawyers like to talk to each other.
a defendant to prove her innocence, to produce any evidence whatsoever, or to do anything other than attend the trial. This presumption of innocence remains with the defendant until you, the jury, make your determination after listening and considering all the evidence. In a related important principle of law, the defendant has an absolute right not to testify, since the entire burden of proof in this case is on the Commonwealth to prove that she is guilty.
Someone did call me a polar bear the other day because I'm a big guy.
Under our system of law, a defendant has a perfect right to say to the government, you accuse me, now you prove it, and prove it beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. I do not have to say a word. A defendant's decision whether or not to testify has nothing to do with the question of whether he or she is guilty or not guilty. The jury must not consider it in any way or even discuss it in their deliberations. Jurors in a criminal case must decide whether the Commonwealth has proved its case against the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt based solely on the testimony of the witnesses and the exhibits. That brings me to the requirement of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. What is proof beyond a reasonable doubt?
Oh, yeah, I saw that tweet as well. Kathy Daffy, the greatest law enforcement agent in the history of the world. Sherlock Holmes actually called her for advice. Claimed that Karen Reed was found guilty in a grand jury. That just shows how much she knows about the law. And I don't know. You don't take this the wrong way, but I might have a suspicion that Kathy Daffy isn't the greatest legal mind in the history of the world. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Reasonable doubt, the term is often used and probably pretty well understood, though it is not easily defined. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all possible doubt. For everything in the lives of human beings is open to some possible or imaginary doubt. A charge is proved beyond a reasonable doubt if, after you have compared and considered all of the evidence, you have in your minds an abiding conviction to a moral certainty that the charge is true. When we refer to moral certainty, we mean the highest degree of certainty possible in matters relating to human affairs based solely on the evidence that has been put before you in a case. I have told you that every person is presumed to be innocent unless and until he or she is proved guilty, and that the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth. If you evaluate all the evidence and you still have a reasonable doubt remaining, the defendant is entitled to the benefit of that doubt and must be acquitted. It is not enough for the Commonwealth to establish a probability, even a strong probability, that the defendant is more likely to be guilty than not guilty. That is not enough. Instead, the evidence must convince you of the defendant's guilt to a reasonable and moral certainty, a certainty that convinces your understanding and satisfies your reason and judgment as jurors who are sworn to act conscientiously on the evidence. This is what we mean by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Our system of justice depends on judges like me and jurors like you being able and willing to make careful and fair decisions. All people.
There's rumors of Plevin filing a lawsuit because of negativity and lacking sales of his book. But is he gonna sue God for giving people a brain? Who the hell is he going to sue?
People deserve a fair and equal treatment in our system of justice, regardless of their race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender, sexual orientation, education, income level, or any other personal characteristic. You have agreed to be fair, and I'm sure that you want to be fair, but that is not always easy. One difficulty comes from our own built-in expectations and assumptions. They exist even if we're not aware of them and even if we believe we do not have them.
And the thing about a grand jury that most people don't know is a grand jury is just the police telling the panel, yeah, we have this evidence. There's no defense to say, well, that's wrong. That's video is inverted. You never asked that questions. Why didn't you ever do this? It's just a one-sided affair. So a grand jury, the saying is, you can indict a ham sandwich because it's just one side providing the evidence. And that's another thing, that putting weight on what a grand jury is saying is kind of ridiculous. You should only do it in the opposite way whenever a grand jury doesn't indict, like with the Karen Reed, Aidan Carney conspiracy trial. Because if you couldn't even make a grand jury believe it, there's more chance that you will believe that Lefty passed middle school.
Some of you may have heard this called implicit bias, and that is what I'm talking about. Of course, we judges have the same problem as everyone else, so let me share a few strategies that we have found useful. First, slow down. Do not rush to a decision. Hasty decisions are more likely to reflect stereotypes or hidden biases. Second, keep an open mind. Avoid drawing conclusions until the end of the case when you and your fellow jurors deliberate.
Again, all of this is something that some lawyers have talked to some judges about on some symposium, and that's why they do it. The judges don't care.
Remember that when you deliberate, you will have all the evidence and all the time you need to make a careful decision. So there truly is no need to start making your mind up before then. Third, you should listen closely to all the witnesses. That is the best way to ensure that you decide this case based on the evidence and the law instead of upon any unsupported assumptions. Fourth, as you listen to testimony about the people involved in this case, consider them as individuals rather than as members of a particular group. Finally, I might ask myself, would I view the evidence differently if the people were from different groups, such as different racial, ethnic, or gender identity groups? At the end of this case, I will remind you of these strategies and ask you to focus on the evidence instead of on any unsupported assumptions.
I send people over to your platform all the time. You can just defend yourself over there. Hey, you're like that weird Dutch guy. I'm not going to invite you on, Lefty, just because you want to yell at me.
You may have.
Is Lefty Dutch? Is that why he has that weird accent and punches horses? I'm just saying, I never seen that weird guy and Lefty in the same room.
All we ask is that you, individually and as a group, do your best to resolve this case based upon the evidence and the law, without sympathy, bias, or prejudice, to the best of your ability as human beings. Now, I know that some of this may be confusing. Perhaps all of it is confusing at this early stage of the case. You'll certainly be in a better position to understand this at the end of the case when you've heard the evidence and I can explain the law in detail. So don't be worried if you didn't catch everything that I've said. Why am I telling you these things now? Because we need to know if you're able to follow the law in this case. You don't necessarily have to agree with the law, but all the jurors will have to apply the law as I describe it. So for jury selection, it is important to know if any of you might have some doubts whether you can accept and follow these legal principles. So you can take your white cards out now if you don't already have them. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and if your answer is yes to any of those questions, please raise your hand. But before we begin, I understand that sometimes we don't fill out the confidential juror questionnaire forms that were sent to you completely. Sometimes we're in a hurry to get them in, or sometimes you might think that your situation doesn't apply to the question that's been asked. So if you're sitting here now and you realize that maybe you forgot to put in your age or prior employment, or whether or not you've had experience as a defendant in a criminal case, or a party in a civil case or criminal case, or as a witness or a juror, please let us know when you come up to sidebar. And if there's a blank that needs to be filled in and you didn't remember it and we catch it, we're going to ask you those questions. All right, so first question. Do any of you folks...
Lefty is just some annoying guy who streams Red Dead Redemption, if you don't know. No, it was that Frank Vessering or something. He came in after my Plevin show and I'll debate you, I'll destroy you. Yeah, that's fine. Go play with your own feces. Jamie, stop me from saying stuff like that.
Or a close personal.
The people you saw in the back was the former juror who has become like a jury consultant for them, and we believe it's two of those paralegals that volunteered from Harvard.
Friend or family member, no. Or have you had any prior dealings with any of the witnesses whose names I've read?
963, 987, 1013, 982, 1034, 1018, 1017,
1038, 994.
Okay.
That wasn't a lot.
Do any of you folks or a close personal friend or family member know, or have you had any prior dealings with the lawyers or the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office? If so, please raise your hand.
982.
Thank you. Do any of you or a close personal friend or family member have any financial or other personal interest whatsoever in this case or its outcome? I see no affirmative responses. If you have seen, heard, or talked about this case, please raise your hand.
990, 1035, 1011, 978, 976, 987, 964, 984, 1020, 972, 1034, 1013, 971, 963, 1032, 982, 1036, 993, 979.
I'm not saying that if you have a friend who has some Colombian pre-workout that you might have to call him up, but just listening to Bev's voice again makes me sit here and regret every life choice I've ever made.
1003, 962, 1030, 989.
This is standard. It's just panel voir dire, and then they will give them a questionnaire so they can do personal interviews later. It's just to weed out if they have someone who's already, so they don't have to take them on to the questionnaire.
995, 988, 1030, 1005, 960, 1008, 968, 983.
We'll have laughing breaks, Marissa, especially that week when you probably will have to take over when I'm drunk in Tennessee.
973, 1017.
This is the thing. Let's just remind ourselves what people should do.
The most important people in this case that everybody seems to have forgotten in this room is the jury. So we're going to take a 15-minute break and both sides take a pregnant pause and think about the jury.
Imagine sitting, if you go back to the first 2 weeks of the trial where Lally kept going on for 2 hours about snow, how do you think the concentration level of the jury was sitting on these chairs? It's not this courtroom, but if it's the same chairs they have in the other courtroom, at the same time, they don't have a table in front of them to put their notes on. So they're going to do that weird dance. Are we going to put it on the little hand guard, or are we going to do it in our lab? And you can't sit and doodle because you're losing your mind. If you're a little hefty, those arm, I don't know what you call it, arm thingies where you put your arms on the side of it will dig into your hips. You can't move around in the chair. That's why I always say keep it short, stupid, in court cases, because Imagine this is what you're given to sit and listen to for 6 hours a day with 3 breaks. And that's why when I said earlier that Lally actually was kind of smart, he kept it so long so whenever cross-examination came around, all of these people were bored out of their mind, their buttocks were hurting like hell, and they just sat there and thought, oh, I can't wait to get out of here today. What? Oh, I missed it. And that's a big problem that you have to sit in a chair like this. This shouldn't be the juror. The juror should have a better chair than the judge.
1039.
Armrest. Yes, that's what I was looking for.
1018. 965. 1027. 1021.
That's the problem.
1015. 992. 1031. 970. 998. 986. 994. 1037. 1038.
Okay, thank you very much. Please raise your hand if you have expressed or formed any opinion with respect to this case.
1035, 1011, 978, 967, 987, 964, 972, 10, 20, 993, 976, 10, 30, 36, 979, 1005, 988,
Jeepers.
983, 968, 960,
1028. 1027. 1015. 992. 1031. 970. 998.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, but you're probably not allowed to do that. And I don't know if you can even bring your own cushion. Then you'll probably have to leave it overnight to make sure that you don't put anything in it or blah, 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 something. Diane G. This is a good Christian channel.
Are any of you aware of any bias or prejudice that you may have in regard to this case or in favor of or against either of the parties? If so, please raise your hand.
1032, 987, 978, 993.
Oh, you are allowed to bring cushions. I have one of those butt pillows, and yeah, when we're doing these long streams, especially when I'm sitting in my other chair because I can stand up, I'm on a high chair right now, at the high top. It does help, but still, your butt just get numb.
Thank you. Do any of you folks have any difficulty hearing or any problem with understanding the English language, any physical or mental condition, or any religious or philosophical belief that would make it difficult for you to hear the evidence in this case, to understand the evidence, to concentrate during the trial, or to deliberate for the purpose of reaching a verdict? If so, please raise your hand. I see no affirmative responses.
I'm sorry, just one after the.
Oh, it's 2.
1032, 966.
Okay, thank you. Would any of you folks have any difficulty following those very important constitutional rights that I explained to you? First, that the burden of proof rests entirely with the Commonwealth. Second, that that burden of proof is proof beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. And third, that the defendant has absolutely no burden. She can just sit in that chair and not ask a single question, not produce a single witness, and not testify on her own behalf. Anyone have any difficulty with those 3 very important constitutional principles? Okay.
983.
Haven't 983 raised his paddle or her paddle a lot? There's someone who doesn't want to do jury duty. And this was actually a good question because I saw someone who is a pro Karen Reed saying on Twitter that they had a problem with Aiden saying he would plead the fifth, and they had a problem that Karen wasn't testifying. To me, nothing is more dangerous than testifying on your own behalf, because everything we see stupid criminals get themselves into more trouble all the time. And you don't have to be a criminal to get in trouble because they will ask questions. Just think back to Jen. Jen is innocent as the purest snow, and still the evil Jackson made her sound like she might have Googled something in the middle of the night, that she might have been off about some timelines, that she might have lied about a Jeep. And she was innocent as all hell. Oh, and by the way, some people are saying, well, why did Jen need a lawyer? It's not a bad thing to have a lawyer, especially in a case where they're pointing at you as a third-party culprit. Just, it's okay when Karen does it. It's also okay when the rest of them do it.
Now, I can tell you folks that after every jury trial, I talk to the jurors, and they always tell me that even though they may have not wanted to have jury duty, that they have found it to be an interesting experience. And many tell me that they find it to have been a rewarding experience. But I do understand that for some of you jurors, given the schedule that we have, serving on this jury may be a substantial hardship. And let me tell you what I mean by substantial hardship. Every civic duty that we have requires us to be inconvenienced in some way. This is much more than inconvenience. It means that there's something personal to you that means that you will be excused, but the person sitting next to you will have to take your place.
We don't know. Rumor is, if you go by Aiden's rumor, Wednesday. If you go by Katie Russo, it's still tomorrow. Anyway, whenever it starts, I will be here, hopefully joined by my lovely friends. Well, Jamie won't be here, but Valhalla and Mo, both of those have attracted a cold. So I have told them, suck it up, buttercup. Ain't no quitting in baseball. So if we start tomorrow, they will have and do what I do, blow their nose off camera, because ain't no quitting.
Generally think of it in terms of you have surgery or vacation plans scheduled, airline tickets scheduled for the time that we will be in
I have airline
here.
tickets.
If you think you have a substantial hardship, please raise your hand.
990, 1035, 1011, 978, 967, 964, 972, 1020, 993, 1032, 991, 1005, 1010.
I hate it in every case when they log on to either the family or the defendant or yeah. I know it's no crying in baseball. It's from that Tom Hanks movie.
1022, 1018, 965.
Oh, you have a detractor. Why should she ask for a deal? What should her deal be on the first, the second-degree manslaughter that the jury found her not guilty in, if Bev didn't F up her instructions, or the leaving the scene of an accident that the jury found her innocent of, or should she plead guilty to to an OUI manslaughter charge, or should she just keep going because the first trial showed that the best the Commonwealth could do was a hung jury? A hung jury means the Commonwealth lost their case. That's why they had to go out and spend $300,000 of Massachusetts money to get a special protector. Karen Reed should absolutely not take a deal. There's no reason to take a deal. All signs show that Karen Reed has a better chance to be found innocent than guilty. even though it's always a crapshoot when you go in front of a jury. But the first jury didn't find her guilty. Now, how have the state improved their case? They're going to have a meteorologist to come in and tell us the ground was hard. You'll still have an ME that, no, oh, by the way, they're not going to call their own ME, because the ME will say, yeah, no way I can tell that happened. And will the defense then use the charts that showed that had been, was it 0.5 inches of snow accumulated at 6 a.m? So he couldn't be buried in snow? I'll take my chances on that one.
1015 992 1031 970 1031.
Yeah, and she did her call. She said, I ain't gonna do it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to leave the bench in a minute or so to give you a chance to fill out the juror questionnaires. I'd ask that you not talk to anybody about the questionnaires, either about what.
Yes, I did hear what the previous jury said. The previous jury said they never proved beyond reasonable doubt. The reason why we couldn't agree on the last one was because people had that idiotic thing up in their head saying, well, she must have done something. She was charged and she was drunk. If that's enough for you to find someone guilty of manslaughter, I hope you will never, ever serve on a jury. Because that's not evidence of her hitting John O'Keefe with a car. Did you get what they did catch on to? That John O'Keefe hadn't been struck by a car? That's why if you go back and start the show, I said, I hope the defense will leave out all of the third-party culprit, or at least keep it to a minimum, and then just go with the physics. Because in no world where people believe in science can anyone find Karen Read guilty. And then you can say, well, but Trooper Paul. No, Trooper Paul couldn't find her guilty because he said it's not consistent with being struck by a car. Trooper Paul couldn't even figure out how to do the calculations to find out what amount of force had been put on John's body, which shows you he never ever tried. Trooper Paul was sitting with his own report and could hardly read it. He's the guy who said, oh, kill me, please. Because he's such a bad detective. I would take my chances with the experts they have, with the knowledge, okay, we have to put out the third-party culprit defense to the side, mention it, don't go into deep with it, and just focus on one thing. The thing that people who think Karen Read is guilty might not have heard in the first trial. There is no evidence that Karen Read struck John O'Keefe with the SUV, and there is no evidence that John O'Keefe was struck with an SUV. It's really that binary. She can't have done it because there's no evidence proving she did it. Because if you look at his body, that body was never hit by a 6,000-pound vehicle traveling at 24.3 miles per hour. Anyone, and I'll say this in the broadest of terms, anyone who is, I'll do a Plevin. Anyone who's dumb enough to believe that you can have an impact at 24.3 miles per hour with 6,000 pounds, and all that happens to you is you get a red abrasion on your knee, you get some striations on your arm, and that's all that happens to your body. Remember, the head injury is from when he landed on the very hard ground. If you are so bad at common sense, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be allowed to vote. Take everything else out. The McAlberts, the Aiden, the Plevin. Just look at the evidence. No evidence suggests that John O'Keefe was ever struck by a 6,000-pound vehicle. not going at 1 mile per hour, not going at 100 miles per hour, and certainly not at 24.3 miles per hour. And I believe if they will stop focusing on proving that the McAlberts did it and just go into all of the details that doesn't make sense in all of the technical evidence, the missing backup camera, the chip off that, it's going to prove everything. Remember when Plevin said that in December? Haven't heard anything about it since then. The magic tail light that even though it had been on the front lawn for more than 2 weeks, all of it magically was placed right next to each other, which is, it's such a low possibility that I would think you have probably the same chance of winning the Mega Million drawing if you find all of these pieces of glass right next to each other after it had rained and snow had melted, because that would have moved around. No, it was in a perfect position. Anyone who is unwilling to see the truth are either willfully lying to themselves or shouldn't be allowed to vote. Because no one who looks at the facts in this case can believe Karen Read is guilty. The only people who believe Karen Read is guilty are people who are jealous of a successful woman, people who are jealous that Aidan Carney have a bigger YouTube career than them, or 3, people who are just getting out of the wrong side of the bed every single morning and getting mad that, I want to be special too.
Your questions might be, or comments, or any concerns that you have about jury duty, either generally or in particularly this case, and please don't share your answers. So if you have any questions or concerns, you'll be able to talk to me about that when you come up to sidebar. All right, thank you very much.
All right, please.
Yeah, people with zero sway shares, people who think Karen Read did it. No, and that's the weird thing. I don't get these people who just, she's guilty. Why? Well, because she said John was a pervert. Tell me you have never been in a relationship. Tell me that you're one of these people who will put on Instagram, "Oh, life is beautiful," while you sit with your husband. Because no one who has a real relationship haven't had an argument. N01. I would have been more concerned if she had started calling him instantly and say, "Hey, John, I'm just so glad you went into the house, and I'm going to go home. I'm going to lie on the couch. I'm going to be ready when you come home, big boy." Do me like one of the French girls. Because that would, to me, have been building an alibi. It's really stupid to build an alibi by yelling. And again, no evidence that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. And then you have the broken, cracked tail light that is such a big piece of the puzzle because, there's micro shards of plastic embedded in his clothes. No evidence John O'Keefe was ever hit by a car. No evidence. No evidence at all. Then if you just have finished 5th grade science, you should be able to figure out that hitting a guy with a car, he was just sorry.
Oh my gosh, you guys! There's a class called Basic Grifting. Should we all learn how to be grifters together?
Well, maybe you're too dumb to understand it. Huh? Maybe it's because you're not that smart. But he was sideswiped. He was sideswiped. That's why there's no. It's totally consistent. The tail light when it hit his arm, it made those striations. It's totally consistent. You have to believe. I've looked into this. Look at the glass. Look at the glass at the scene. It's totally consistent. Aiden is a bad boy.
I like turtles.
And this is the mindset of people who doesn't care about facts. Mel Klump, the jury had a fundamental misunderstanding of the rule of Karen's attorneys. Most people who go into a courtroom, serves on a jury, has one big misunderstanding. I trust the state. The state would have never, ever charged someone if they weren't guilty of something. Maybe it's not second degree, but it must be something, or else we wouldn't have wasted 10 weeks of our time. And that's the big problem. That's how juries mostly see it. I've talked a lot about it when I talk about my own jury experience, that it's one of those biases you have to fight. Because, yes, the state do charge people with crap. I have had a guy who was... in Denmark, you can be incarcerated, awaiting trial. And when you're that, you're not in GenPub, you're not anywhere, you're just on your own. He was in prison for a year, awaiting his trial. 6 hours after we started the case, we released him, cleared of everything. He spent a year in prison. That thing where they're in prison have to go before the judge every 2 weeks to see if there's enough there to keep them in prison. They kept him in prison for a year because probably the judge believed the system. And then us normal people coming in saying, nope, he didn't do anything wrong. Sadly, too many people believe the system. For the props box, well, thank you. My bald cap, I'll have to figure out. Mo has to find someone on the Timu. I bought some new monitors from a store that was named something.dk. It's from Alibaba. What the hell should I buy stuff from Alibaba from? It's going to take forever to come here. Anyone noticed that Bev changed her speak to the jurors today? Every single day she has said the supporters have not seen the evidence. Yet today she admitted the line because she knows it's a lie. I thought she said they haven't seen what's in the court or something like that. Well, I need the ball cap, so then it'll be perfect. No, I don't want people to run away. I actually hope that instead of going over to Twisted Strategies or whatever her name is, and listening to their, can I call it BS? I would hope they would come over to us and just spend a day here. Because maybe, just maybe we can change the mind.
If you're calling him 24 minutes later and saying nobody knows where you are, she was clearly setting up at least some sort of story. Nobody knows where you are. Well, you just said 9 or 15 months later, whatever it was in the first.
Jamie, can we get an evaluation on her glue-on lashes? She has 120 people watching her. And she's the big live streamer on this one. And now she's sitting here. I think Reed knew she hit him. I think she either thought he'd get up or somebody would find him, and she waited for that response and then freaked out in the morning when she didn't get it. These are the thoughts that these people entertain. Whenever people come in here and say, hey, did you hear O'Malley at the pond said that Proctor is fired? And I said, I haven't heard anything about that. Well, it's true because O'Malley at the pond said it. I said, I'll wait to see when it's official. And O'Malley at the pond was right only 5 months early. So I will say I've never heard about it. I don't know anything about it because I don't want to talk about anything I haven't confirmed or I haven't seen or anything. These people, yeah, well, if you didn't know it, the Martians were flying low over Fairview 34 that night, and the light hit Karen's eyes, and she became a vindictive B word because she's a B word. She has job, money, people like her, all of the things I don't have, so I hate her. And by the way, Turtle Boy, it's all just made up. None of it has any bearing in the truth. Of course, I speculated on things as well, and I said, I did it today, said, if I was the defense, I would cut down on the third party, I would go hard on the physical evidence. But these people are just, yeah, she did it. Why? Because Aiden is an idiot? That's not, someone was, while Aiden was live streaming yesterday, someone was on Twitch saying that his girlfriend was looking for him because Aiden was out banging someone else. 10,000 people was watching him live. At least do better when you do all this stupid thing. Yeah, that's the big problem. Even I, as a barely literate baker, gets headed listening to them. Her name is Twisted Tragedies or something like that. She's a weirdo. My ex-friend was thrown in jail by a bitter ex-girlfriend making things up. It was all proven to be lies, but unfortunately, before he found out and was about to be released, he was found swinging. Yeah, this kid I had, it was so, you could tell how he just didn't fit in there. He was a little slow, but still, he was a sweetheart. And they stuck him in there for a year. At least he would get, we have a daily rate how much you will get compensated if you were illegally incarcerated. I think he would make 1.2 million. So that's pretty good. Hey, morning, G. Did Jamie give me an update on... Did you just say get headed? Why would I say get headed? That doesn't make sense in a sentence. Yeah, I don't like this guy, so she is guilty. That's 95% of the arguments on the other side. Yes, I did my 4 years of apprenticeship. These comments are called flat earthers who don't believe in science. But the Earth technically is flat because, as I have said many a time, and this is just science. Everyone knows the Earth is not flat. It's slightly concave because it's resting on the shell of a turtle. So this is just science. You can't argue science. The world isn't flat because it's resting on the back of a turtle. That's why we have earthquakes sometimes, because the turtle is moving around with its shell. Twisted was on Karen Reed's side until she got caught scamming and stealing donations for the defense fund, keeping them for herself. Aiden called her out, and then she switched. Again, I don't know her well enough. I just know that Jamie beats her in a lash-off every day. That chick is a mess too. Anti-Karen Reed, she was free Karen Reed till her and Turtle Boy had a disagreement, and after that she says Karen Reed is guilty. Smack my high knee. Isn't that funny how all these big anti-Karen Reed people are all people that Aiden kind of sussed out? And the sea is held by a massive snake. Midgårdsormen from the Nordic mythology. Everything I say makes sense. Oh, you just... but that's... Some of it is weird. I'm just saying that all of the North myth, it's always about someone who had to kill someone over a lady. Yeah, focus on science, arca, and medical experts. Exactly. That's why I would mention all of these people. I would mention that no one saw him, even though everyone claimed they saw the car outside. You can't get around that part. You need to get into it. But I don't want to talk about Colon or Nebuchadnezzar or all of that. I'll just go back. I would break up Jen's timeline again because I went back and listened, and she clearly states at 2:45 we have her text messages with a timestamp. 2:45 is her last message. She said she was looking at Karen's car at that time. We know Karen wasn't there. That's where I would focus. Yeah, but they are not allowed to say that, sadly. Yeah, 12:45 is, if you're going to do the third party culprit, this is where you have to focus. Keep all of that stuff about who knew who, when, where. Talk about the weird calls in the middle of the night. I wish they had a longer time period so they could see if it was normal. And then talk about, I would go ham on Jen McCabe because, first of all, watching her, oh my God, I forgot how obnoxious she is. And I was glad I was in Tennessee, so I didn't have to watch her the first trial. But I think you can break her on the stand. I really think you can break her. Didn't I say 12:45? What did I say? Did you catch in Plevin's book where he claims that the defense enlisted the federal government? Yeah. I don't believe in conspiracies because so many people will have to be a part of the conspiracy. By the way, the defense called the DOJ and they set up an investigation. That's not a conspiracy. I actually asked him that question before he spurred. Well, while he was spurting out in my interview, he didn't really answer that. Because now he's saying, "Well, I don't claim that they did it." Well, you did in your book. Garino didn't testify until after the McCabe's. The defense knew nothing about the Wi-Fi. The defense must have known about the Wi-Fi because they have all the papers. Because it was the defense who brought up the Wi-Fi. I said 2:45. Oh, well, I would talk about what happened around 2:00 with Higgins at the police station, the bot dials, and the searching of Hoslong. If you can find an expert who can tell me val files, exit files, Cellbrite, Gray Key, like I am a 2-year-old with a severe learning disability. If you can't get an expert to tell me in a way like I'm a 2-year-old with a severe learning disability, don't talk about it because over my head. Yeah, I think there will be an objection to that and they won't be allowed to do it. So, but at least get it in there once. So much is important to bring up, though. The third party thing is a factor. If we know Karen didn't hit him, someone else hurt him. Not their job to prove it, though. Just Karen Reed didn't. That's why I won't bring it up. I won't go into details with it. I'll just talk about all these people who were with him or could have seen him. Matt McCabe, who texted, "Don't tell them the guy went into the house." But it's not their job to solve the case. It's the police job. And I would hammer how bad the police investigation was. and all the technical evidence that is proving she didn't do it. I don't care if who if any beat him, because we'll never find out, because Proctor deliberately ruined the investigation. But I asked the question when everyone came in. In trial one, what was the part of the defense where what part of the defense were the least effective to you? And 42% says the third party, too many people. 27%, I was one of those 27%, says the data, I just didn't understand any of it. It was perfect, 23%, and the science ARCA, 6%. 23% who found it perfect, and they ended up with a hung jury. That's I hope they'll do better the second time around. They have to show there were other suspects that should have been questioned and burned. Yeah, you get into it via the bad investigation. That's where you use your third-party culprit defense. You mix the Bowden and the third party, but you don't go and try and solve who did it, because you can't do that. But the Bowden and the third party goes together like ramalama ding dong, kadinky kadinky doo. And you will stress that we will never ever find out. The only thing we can determine is Karen didn't do it, because all the science says that. But the problem is we'll never find a real killer, because the investigation was so sloppy that they missed all the clues, and most of all, they instantly closed their eyes for the most likely suspect, the people who were at Fairview 34 that night. Don't go into hours of cross-examination of everything. You can bring in the third-party culprit via Proctor. I heard that the state isn't calling Proctor this time. Wonder why. Exactly. Green was hard to follow, unless he will do a much better job with a witness like Green, in your opinion. I hope so. I know that's what he's brought on to do, because he is the tech guy, he is the details guy. Him and I bet you Miss Little had done all of the research and given it to Jackson when he cross-examined him. But one thing is to read okay, you have to mention this, and that. Another thing is to understand it. And if you have a lawyer who understands what a wall file and an Excel file and whatever the terms were, it's way better, and he can dumb it down, because someone who's just reading off a cheat sheet can't dumb it down, because he's already at the max level. He can explain it. So I just hope they will try and use. That's why I have Bender and the whiteboards and stuff like that. I like to talk in pictures, because most people, Universal, when you hear a scenario drawn, you will see it in your head. Oh, it doesn't make sense with this arm, and you can instantly put yourself and say, no, this SUV coming this way, just sniping this part. No, that doesn't make sense. If I just said, well, driving past him, sideswiping, it doesn't make sense. You need to paint these pictures either via a prop, demonstrative, or with your words. And I didn't feel they did it the last time. It's way more efficient for me when people paint pictures that I can remember after. That's how I remember things best. It's going to be interesting. Visuals. I hope they get more visuals this time. I know they wanted some at the last trial, but I won't allow it. But the tech stuff is what confuses me. The jury must hate sitting through all that stuff, especially if they don't. Again, if you had like a PowerPoint or a small video or something, it'll be so much easier to comprehend what they're talking about. But if I'm just sitting here and saying, well, you have the wall file, and then you have the exit file, and then you have the gray key and you have to transport it over to this program. I don't know what age the jury was at the last trial, but I remember before my mom passed away, it would be a weekly occurrence. My computer is blinking. What part of the computer is blinking? It's blinking. Is it the tower? Is it the screen? Is it what's blinking? Can't you just come look at it? What did you sign up to this time? What did you press? I never press anything. And then you'd spend 2.5 hours, get all the viruses off your computer because she had that, oh, I can win something. I'll better press that. And we did that every week. That was a fun little game we had. I miss cleaning my mom's computer now because she's not here anymore. But that was my skill level. When I have to build my computer, I have a buddy I call and say, hey, I need to change the hardware in my computer. When can I come pass by you? And does these parts fit together? Because I don't know anything about that. When people ask me, said, hey, what setup are you running? I have a ring light and a light panel and a camera and a microphone. I don't know. Just looking at Recovery Addict's desk gives me PTSD. I don't know what half of that is. They need to use visuals with Dr. Stonebridge, or at least get her to describe it, things in layman's terms instead of pro-med terms like she did. The defense didn't even cross her during trial 1. That was the head injury lady. They have their own expert this time to talk about head injuries, I think. I don't know. No, she actually just filled up her computer with virus because she thought that she won something. My mom was the one who would talk to the Nigerian prince who called her on the phone. The amount of times my dad called me and said, she just signed us up to, I can save money on my power bill? Oh, okay, sign me up. Oh, it's 3 times as expensive and I'm locked in it for 10 years. Okay. I love my mom. Russian aloha. Hello. Nope, not about Colin. That has been debunked 2 years ago. It keeps coming up all the time that it was Karen Reed had a video of Colin selling drugs. It wasn't about Colin. It was, I believe, a 27-year-old guy who lived on the corner. Had nothing to do with Colin, but people mix it up and claim that's the reason why. Had nothing to do with Colin. Yeah, and a little over the top, I think, sometimes, because I have a lot of pushy buttons I never use. The fact that Commonwealth's theory changed in real time during one point, was wild. That they didn't pick up that he had 3 different times when it happened. That alone on the jury should have been reasonable doubt. But again, juries are made up of all the people who couldn't get out of jury duty. Colin involved in this, though. Yeah, but that drug deal had nothing to do with Colin. And that's what as I said, when I was over at, when we looked at Twisted Tragedies and her tragic lashes, if I see something out there that I know isn't true, I'll tell you. And yeah, this might not be the channel where you go and get all the juicy bits, but at least 70% of it must be true before slight lies might sneak in here and there. But the easily debunked stories, instead of wasting time talking about, well, that's why it happened. No, because it's not true. Let's get back to, I think I still, if I'm in my speculative mood and I have to, I'm going to do a Plevin and go in and write a chapter in my book from the John O'Keefe point of view. I think something happened in the house. I don't think it was planned. I think most likely happened in the basement. I think either a dumbbell or the bench had something to do with it. Who did what? I don't know. I think it was an accident that turned bad some way. How? I don't know. But I think it wasn't planned. I don't think it was planned. I think it was an accident, and because it happened, they had to follow through with it. That's where I get. But I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I had a cat named Bella as well. Well, I didn't. My daughter had. We had Bella and Donna. Bella, one morning we came in. She wasn't that old. She was just dead on the floor. But we had a cat named Bella. I don't know if they wanted to beat him. I actually think Higgins was doing the chest bump thing because he was heated and he was drunk. And he probably said, well, I could fuck your girlfriend if I wanted to. I kissed her. And then maybe a little shoving and someone fell down, tripped over something. I think that's most likely what happened. His brain injuries show that he was hit from the front. I don't understand because he has his skull fractures is in the back. The raccoonize it from the pressure going forward, right? I don't know. I think but I know he has that spot in the back of his head where he has skull fracture. That's the point of impact as far as I understood that, doctor. What was the colon drug rumor? That at some point John O'Keefe had contacted the Canton PD and got transferred to Colin's uncle because they were reporting someone dealing drugs. And Karen Reed had a video of it. That was Colin, and that's why he attacked John at the house. But I believe it was a 27-year-old man with a prior record who was the drug dealer. It's been debunked. It comes up, it's one of these cyclical things that goes around through the case every now and again. Everyone have heard that this is the thing, but it was a different person. It's correct. He did contact the police. I can't remember if he talked to it's not Chris. It's the other one, the one with the gun and the badge. I can't remember if he was on it, but it's a different guy who lived in a different address at the house. The Colin drug rumor was started by Krusty. I get all my news from Krusty and Plevin. They are highly believable. Kevin Albert. Okay. Yeah, he got blows, and that's why it was more consistent with someone who's been in a fight. I think they should really try and get that out and make it clear again, because again, every physical evidence doesn't show a car strike. Helena Rafferty brought up John reporting drugs in a neighborhood at a town council meeting. That's such a weird thing. But yeah, it had nothing to do with Colin. And they didn't bring it up in the first trial either. But I don't know. I wasn't there. The only thing I know is that Karen Reed didn't do it. The rest will be speculation. Listen to Stonebridge's testimony, then to Rubia. Yeah, I remember Rubia was talking about it on my channel, and she did say something about the front, but the injuries to his head is to the back. Because even think I asked her a question about that. This was in May, June last year, so I might be wrong. But I believe the Rubia said something about the pressure coming from the front, but still, he does have skull fractures radiating from the back of his head. Can I show that picture? Can I show that picture? I'm not. Let me see if I can find it. How bad is it? How bad is this picture? Let me see if I can find it. Of course, I can't find it right now, but he has this, and that's why I think that it's a slip and fall, because it's a straight line across the back of his scalp. And I saw another picture in a different resolution. It looks like there's some writing on top of it. It could be someone have tempered with the picture, and I'm just falling for a hoax. But it looks like someone had put some, and to me that looks like something was swung. But I don't know. I wasn't there. That's all I can say. What was the rumor about Colin throwing bottles in John's yard? There was another weird thing I heard. Colin didn't live anywhere near John. Colin lived right down the street in his old house. Apparently, there was some tension between the Alberts and John O'Keefe because he had been out yelling at Colin either for walking across his lawn or throwing bottles. Then they made those pictures where they gave the Sioux bird or the Canton salute, sent it to him while he was on vacation, where they, we're just good friends. That's not what good friends does. So there was tension. I 100% believe there was tension. I 100% believe that Colin is one of these guys who's either have to learn really fast or will learn in a very bad way that his attitude isn't a good attitude. When he gets out into real life and he's not got daddy's family connections to take care of him, he'll run into an ass whooping bigger than anything because he's a pampered little. So there is bad blood there. There is bad blood, but the drug connection isn't real. There's a reason John asked Chris in a text message if Kevin was at the waterfall that night. Kevin was given what evidence John had to investigate. Kevin deemed nothing to see here as per Rafferty. But still, it was nothing to do with Colin. Yes, they said he had injuries to both his temples, but again, there is the main injury is to the back of his head, where he has, I believe it's 2.5 inches cut on his scalp, and he has radiating skull fractures from back there. That's what she also found, that the skull fractures is from the back of the head, but he had what looked like he's been punched in both temples as well, because he had swelling out here. The raccoon eyes is probably because there's overpressure, not because he was punched. But you see it a lot when the brain swells up, you will get raccoon eyes. And then he had the classical thing that happens when people die from head trauma. His brain started swelling, and then it slips down into your spinal canal and blocks off the system. And that's what would have rendered him almost immediately unable to move himself. And that's another thing. If he's unable to move himself and he was found head down, and I never ever got clear, they need to get into this as well at this trial. They found him head down. We just turned him over. His phone is underneath his body. but the trauma is to the back of his head. He was instantly rendered unconscious. How did he turn over? Because he lands and slams his head into the hard ground, according to the Commonwealth, instantly shuts off the system. But he's found on his stomach with his phone under his body. Another one of those you can't explain. I don't know. Yes, they were collecting evidence against a guy, 27 years old. Karen Reed have him on video. I was actually watching someone covering the other day. But was it at the old house or was it at the new house? The drug deal was going on. As I understand it, Karen had taped a video from inside the house of someone dealing drugs, which should be a 27-year-old man. If again, I'm not 100%, but I believe that is it. But it's just everyone else's want to bring up that it was Colin slinging drugs. It wasn't. That's just the part I say it doesn't. That's not true. Rubia was here last time I saw it in chat was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, but I had her on last year. Yeah, that's the thing. But then again, she said it on the 911 call, and she didn't know she had to hide that the phone was moving at that time, did she? Because I heard it on the 911 call. Everyone else said he was on his back, and that's why I'm thinking, who was correct? I know the EMTs didn't know shit when he said, well, we cut his puffy jacket off of him. Again, maybe she's a good liar than make them think it. You can't use that as a yardstick of anything. But again, the evidence shows she didn't do it. So, yeah. Of course, you can make your own determination, but it doesn't prove anything. That's kind of like opening statements. It's not proof of anything. No, and everyone else said he was in a gray hoodie, I believe it was. Yeah, and as long as it's Jen McCabe, I'm not that trustworthy. But it's natural. You want to be the one with the good rumor, and you hear a story, and oh, that sounds true, and you run with it. Nothing against it. It's just I would rather not do it because then I will turn into a channel like this one. Jamie, those lashes. It's they are on his feet. If you go watch the picture from the hospital, they are on his feet in that picture. Yeah, that's anyone who has half a brain. And first of all, Bride didn't come out of the house. Jen didn't storm to the house to check if Bride was alive. Not one officer said it happened at Fairview 34, the home of a cop. No one. On that alone, out of here. out of here. It's it just doesn't make sense. It's very easy for EMT to misremember because they attend so many. Yeah, and it's so long ago, they got interviewed so late, so they were all talking about it. And when you're talking about it, your mind starts filling holes. You might have heard, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Then you go back and tell the other guys, and they all of a sudden believe, oh, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I heard that as well. But they can't remember when they heard it. So one said it was when I was sitting and giving 911, giving chest compressions. The other one said we were standing face to face, and the third one said I stood right next to a cop when she told me. All of it is disproven because no other witness heard that. So it's just BS. No, his socks never made it into evidence. But if you look at the picture with the clothes on the floor, he has his socks on his feet. I believe one of them is backwards. And I hate having my socks on backwards. Nothing worse. Jay Cornish, I'm not. I barely play music. I don't think it would have Chloe hair if he had his shoes on. There would be, again, there would be more likely to be Chloe hair on his shirt because she clearly had her teeth in that one. Can't do that. She would be the one to determine that she's not biased, and she would say, "Nope, and F you, I'm going to ruin your case even more now." In the town I live in, every dispatcher and cop knows the exact address of every cop that lives in the town, even if they work in another. This town, Bri is a big guy. He was on the fugitive track and field team. His brother works for Canton PD. It's a well-connected family. Everyone knows them. But in this town of, is it 12,000 people or how many that lives there? No one, not even Sergeant Goody, who knows the family, thinks Fairview 34, that's where the Alberts always lived. That's where two fellow officers had their childhood home. Nope, never ever thought about Fairview 34 as being, oh, the Alberts residence. We better make sure that there's not another dead cop inside the house. No one ever thought about that. No one. That's, yeah. Yeah, and if they do it again, she'll just turn even more biased. And they don't need that now. They need to try and tickle her turkey neck as much as possible. So they will have a hell of a biased judge, but not a super hell biased judge. What's the other family in Canton that doesn't like the Alberts? I don't know. I don't know the local gossip. Oh. Fairview 34. What? What was the weather leading up to that night? Anyone can help Rihanna figuring out what was the weather leading up to that night, according to Lally. It was a light dusting of snow. The snow had just started when they drove from the waterfall bar. Until 4:30, 5:30 that morning, there would be snow, but the accumulation would be very, very unsubstantial. So when they said he was covered in snow, there's no way he could be that because there was just not enough snow coming down. It might have been snowing. It was snowing. Can I play you the Rubia clip? I don't know which Rubia clip you're talking about. If it's my Rubia clip, I don't. I can't remember when I had her on, so I don't have it ready. If it's Melanie's, please go to Melanie's channel and support her. I'm not going to play Melanie's content because it's her content. So that's. But I know I had Ruby on last year, but I can't remember what stream it was. I still don't know if there were high tops at the waterfall or not. There were high tops, but who was standing at them is my question. Then I will have to go and dig back through, and I can't even remember if it was a Karen Reed stream I had her on. Someone else reached out to me today and asked when I had her on, and I just can't remember. I think it was June, but I'm not sure because she was just in chat, and then she said, "I want to come on and talk about it," and I sent her a link. So I'm not sure, and I don't put text so I can search it later. And I think I have like 102 videos on my Karen Reed playlist, so it would take me more than 2 seconds to find it. I think the expert was on that too. No, it was me and Jamie. The expert has her on a lot. She might have talked about it on Expert's channel as well, because he knows her. I don't know her. She just hung out in my chat and said, "Can I come on?" And I said, "Sure." So that's the only time I ever talked to her, I think. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Because someone, and always remember, people, 6 a.m. is the perfect time if you want to get me to find something. I'm never sleeping at 6 a.m. Someone wrote me that Nurse Kim was looking for Ruby or something like that. 6 a.m. Sunday morning. I didn't see it instantly. But I'm not even sure I have any I might have her on my, I think I have her in my Twitter. But the last time I talked to her were August last year, so I don't know her. The expert knows her way better than I do. So that would be the one I would grab hold on if I wanted to reach out to her. Am I coming to Boston? Sadly, my liver couldn't handle Massachusetts. All I want to know is what the Dan band played. They played John's Gonna Die. It's no lie. Lured into the house by the evil Alberts. John's gonna die. It's no lie. Pin it on the grill is what they'll do. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Missing in a state of shock. That was my description.
Got it. So in a state of shock, you said there was a crack in it.
No.
Hours after.
I said it was cracked. I never said there was a crack in it.
So if Trooper Proctor wrote that down, that would be an example of him getting your words wrong yet again.
Objection.
Correct?
That's been. I'll allow it.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that at her.
Do you remember it or do you not, Ms. McCabe? That's a simple question.
That morning, I don't remember specifically what I Googled, but I do know what you've put out to the social media.
How about this? And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but 2 phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
Yes.
Did that call roll to voicemail and then you immediately hung up?
No, I don't recall if it, I don't know.
So according to you, it was a butt dial that went to his phone that somehow lasted 1 second. Get cut and dry. Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right? Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right?
Objection.
Pretty simple. Just pin it.